r/ask Reddit. Therapists of Reddit. What was your biggest I know I'm not supposed to judge you but holy shitty moment? Okay, real therapist here. I got one. Some of my clients are shockingly bad at giving themselves credit. Holy shit. Like they might get a nearly straight A GPA in a brutal major while battling depression. Or overcome years of phobia and get behind the wheel again. Or write a literal novel. Or raise a kid as a single parent with low income. Or build new relationships after being burned. Or cope with OCD well enough to hold down a job. And they all talk about themselves as if everyone on earth is better than them. As if their accomplishments are worthless. And I know it's because of depression or anxiety or another condition. But I'm often stunned by how differently I see them compared to how they see themselves. This needs more attention. I came here for juicy stories and ended up with an empathy punch to the gut. Our Wednesday on Reddit. It is Wednesday, my dudes. Whoa, some people just shouldn't have kids. 100% not everyone is made to be a parent. During my training I was asked how would you feel if a client were to come to you and admitted they were a pedophile that was on the edge of committing seriously horrific acts? Could you see that person as another human being that needed help? Or were your personal feelings about the abhorrent behavior too strong? This factor led some people to not continue my course on to the next level, but it really illustrates the level of non-judgment needed in this field. We all have our own personal feelings, of course, but these get talked about in supervision. Edit. Wow, thanks for the awards. I'm glad it's raised an interesting topic for discussion. I'm enjoying reading them all, even if I don't have the time to reply. Personally, in this instance I remember the Gandhi quote, hate the sin, not the sinner. Also spelling. Pedophiles are a great example for whether you're cut out of for this field or not. I've thought a lot about this and have worked with a few, but was able to view them as people having severe psychiatric troubles from trauma they've endured. That being said, the people I worked with were expressing extreme remorse. I know that working in this area could never be my specialty and I refer clients out because I would have to work through too much of my own feelings about their actions. As the child of a convicted pedophile who died in prison, I can attest to the fact that most people get off on how much they hate pedophiles and don't bother thinking any deeper or engaging any more than that. It's a hard thing to love someone or give them the support and help they need. It's exactly because my father couldn't talk about it or get any help without judgment that the internal struggle compulsions evolved into external actions. But nobody wants to talk about that and everyone just wants to blame them for being born with handed this problem. Obviously your actions are your own and you're accountable for them. But it's useless and self-serving to take that fact and turn it into a smug blame game, without ever envisioning a future where these people don't harm others and figuring out what role you play in that future. When I was underage, I got caught with a drink on Bourbon Street and got a minor in possession. I was telling my therapist about it and said that the police caught me with a hand grenade in New Orleans. He didn't realize that a hand grenade was a type of drink, and it was funny to watch him try to process that his patient might have just casually told him that he had been caught with a fragmentation grenade. He took a big long pause and said, "Where did you even find a grenade?" I realized the misunderstanding quickly and corrected him. But for a moment he definitely was thinking, holy shit, how do I deal with this? At last I have a similar story. So this was back when I was in my first year of engineering study and I just thought that the materials paper was the shit. I especially liked the whole steel section. And at the time my depression and general situation wasn't amazing, so it was one of the things sort of keeping me going, you know? So of course when my therapist asks about my passions and goals I said, well, I like steel. And she paused and said, okay, what do you like about stealing? This poor woman thought I had pulled out some surprise kleptomania late in the game. Luckily, like a good therapist, she was non-judgmental but still obviously relieved when I corrected her. Steel is ducking great, buddy. I too am the nerd that likes learning about metallurgy and steel compositions. I was reading a bit about nitrogen steel recently, and that stuff is pretty cool. Edit. Shout out to you /tintsnob for providing the link to a kick-ass website where you can learn this stuff. Therapist here. To piggyback on what others have said, it is highly unlikely for me to have moments where I judge my clients. It happens sometimes, but I'm able to shut down those thoughts quickly in my head and return to being present for the people I see. People are so incredibly complex that my judgment wouldn't have any meaning anyway, and it doesn't have a place in our work together. I will admit though, something that does get me feeling a little salty is when I have a client's parent that attempts to sabotage the therapeutic relationship I have with their child, or pulling them out of therapy entirely when some of the things we talk about challenges some potentially unhealthy family dynamics. I don't feel anger toward the parents. Mostly I feel bad for the kid. Edit. Wow. All I have to say is that I am incredibly humbled by all of you that have shared your stories, even though these moments are so steeped in pain. What hits me is the incredible amount of strength present in spite of the upbringing and parents many of you have had. My god, it's like you're describing my mother. She let me go to therapy a grand total of 2 times while I was depressed and suicidal at 17. The second time the therapist asked her to come in to talk to her about how I was feeling, and she started crying to him about how my feelings made her feel sad and how much it affected her. I never even cried in my sessions. Then he told her she might like to consider letting me go out with friends more and have a better social life, and then she took me home and told me I manipulated him into saying that to her. A few weeks later I tried to commit suicide and her response was to take me out of therapy and off the medication because in her mind that was what caused my episode and not her and my father being pricks to me. Edit. Jesus Reddit, I did not expect all these replies. I am totally out of this situation and do not live with or speak to my parents anymore. I cut them off relatively recently and am working through it. But seeing the outpouring of stories, kindness and love in this thread has truly made me feel heard and validated for the first time that she really was as bad as I remembered. Thank you for that. Open bracket. Also wanna say if any of you guys need to talk, my inbox is open. I can't reply to every single one of these, but know I'm reading all of them and that I hope you're all better now. You deserve unconditional love and kindness. Ducking hell. Sorry to hear that, mate. I hope you're doing a bit better now and don't live with them anymore. I don't like people diagnosing others over the internet, but that sounds an awful lot like narcissism to me. I work with youth and adolescents who have anxiety, trauma, and/or depression. Some of the kids I worked with had some pretty severe attachment issues. Regardless of this, I never thought I'd have to seriously explain. You can't just buy a straitjacket for your kid. Feeding your kid ultra spicy ramen each night instead of the meal everyone else is eating isn't specifically defined as abuse. But you have to understand the emotional abuse that this causes. Your kid isn't trying to kill you because they stand in your doorway at night crying. That's likely because they're scared of their traumatic nightmares, but feel like you will just yell at them if they wake you up. Edit. Removed a phrase. Edits to thank you all for your questions and support. This case has really helped to shape my approach to therapy and has highlighted the importance of healthy communication between parents and kids. My number 1 tip: don't let someone else tell you how you feel. Think. If someone says, "You're angry with me," or something to that effect, ask yourself if you really are. If you're not actually angry, then don't spend a second more on it. A lot of kids' family members get hung up on trying to justify their own actions according to someone else's perception. Edit 3. Fixed straitjacket spelling. No, it's not a jacket for sexual orientations. Holy shit, number 3 is a heartbreaking image. I'm gonna go hug my daughter now. For real, some messed up shit. Hug her for me too. Hope that family got sorted out for the better. I'm a licensed psychologist and I'll tell you I've never judged my patients. The world is so full of judgment and it's my job to objectively look at someone who's suffering and offer them empathy and a path towards healing. The one thing I've judged is the situations that people survive and continue to live their lives. I've worked with torture survivors, survivors of genocide and famine. I've worked with people whose entire villages were wiped out because a warlord wanted the water well that was sitting in the town. It always gives me pause in terms of the anguish some people face and their resilience. So if I have one message, it would be in the words of RJ Palacio: be kind, for everyone is fighting a hard battle. As someone that's just about to start therapy, this is very reassuring to hear it. Wow, I did not expect to start such a wholesome thread. You guys are so sweet. I wish you all the very best. The first step is the hardest, but now you have momentum. Not a judgment. You kind of train your brain not to judge, because you are seeking to understand and help. When you do those things, You can't simultaneously judge. We could all use a little more of that in real life, I suppose. I'll share this though. I do feel concerned about this recent phenomenon of young people I worked with self-diagnosing, sharing, and identifying very closely with mental illness, as if the pendulum quickly swung from never ever share your feelings to OMG, you're depressed. All of us are too. Life's challenges can be tough and they don't need a scientific sounding label to be valid and real. You are not your diagnosis. We can find validation and support in healthier ways. Edit. Thank you for the golden awards. And thanks to everyone for some really nice discussion. I agree. I love that people are more open to getting help. But there's also a big problem with labeling normal ups and downs of life as anxiety and depression among some college students I work with. My main concern with that is how quickly people can seek medication to numb the ups and downs instead of working through them. And the bigger concern how quickly medication is given. I've also had a ton of young people coming to me self-diagnosing as having borderline personality disorder, which is incredibly complex and a lot of therapists wouldn't feel comfortable diagnosing it in a young person to begin with. Edited to add after a great comment from someone. A lot of people do have clinical depression, anxiety etc. And it's incredibly validating to hear that it's not just who you are as a person. It can also give hope that the symptoms can get better. Second edit based on comments. If you're wondering if you should go to a therapist, go. Even if it is just ups and downs. We all need help sometimes. And it might be something more serious. They're the ones that can help you figure that out. I agree. I have 2 clients that constantly look up NPD videos on YouTube and label everyone an arc. That type of black and white thinking takes a long time to work through. They should be reported. They are not fit to practice. Yes, seriously. They can't report you for a crime they think you might commit, unless you actually exhibit signs that you are going to harm others. A therapist cannot report you to authorities. Here's my most recent one. As the pandemic worsened here in the US and more lockdowns are on their way, one of my most extroverted clients and I brainstormed ways to meet her social needs while remaining safe. The following week she cancelled her session and told me that she's positive for COVID after attending an orgy, which definitely wasn't one of our ideas. I let out the deepest, most defeated sigh after I hung up the phone. I'm super extroverted and the struggle in 2020 is real. I just spend a lot of time on Discord chatting to people. Amazingly, I haven't caught COVID. Just out of curiosity, did you attend orgies before COVID? Is extroverted a way of saying you're into orgies? Clinical psychologist working primarily in forensics here. This means my clients are usually involved in legal proceedings. Family court, juvenile court, criminal court, etc. My job is usually to evaluate or provide treatment. I'm not there to judge. That's the judge's job. But of course I have my thoughts. I am usually impressed by the justifications people make for shitty behavior. The one that irks me the most is when parents manipulate their child against the other parent. I've had to do therapy for a 5-year who says she doesn't want to see a parent because they haven't paid child support. Excuse me? What 5-year knows, understand, or needs to be worried about child support? I got my father accusing my mother of turning me and my siblings against him. We were 14-year, 9-year and 7-year at the time, and never acknowledged that he was the one doing all kind of shitty things to us. We had 8 years of pure pain with social assistance. We got ducked by familiarious CPS who only thought about the good for the family. I'm kinda sensible to this argument as it has been using against me, my siblings and my mother. Edit. I see that many children are or have been in my situation. Specialists tried to mark us with PAS, parental alienation syndrome. A really controversial syndrome that isn't really official, but neither was proven wrong at the time. CPS ducked me too as a kid, not wanting to split up the family after me and my sister told them the emotional and mental abuse our father put us through. Duck CPS. I was once in my psychiatrist's office, a bi-monthly, 15 minutes med check. She asked me what was going on. More as conversation. I told her that in the last 6 weeks, my 3 elders, aunt and 2 uncles, I was guardian conservator for had died, one right after the other. My wife had a heart attack, my daughter attempted suicide, and my mom broke her hip and had laid on her floor for a week before being found. She drank and ate from the dog's bowls. I got that call within 10 minutes of setting up the last funeral. She stopped the meeting, got on the phone with a therapist in the office next to her and had her postpone her next meeting to speak with me. I was so ducked up, I had no idea. I think she saved my life. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.